Hey freaks, it's JJ, and I know I promised that my next video would be the story behind Crack the Sky, and I promise I will make that video, but I just got back from a Tool concert recently, and I really was inspired to make this video. So, hope you're not disappointed, and I hope you like Tool as much as I do. I have had two different experiences with Tool. The first time I went and saw them was back in 2014, and then I most recently saw them last Wednesday. So, long period of time in between the two, and two completely separate experiences. And so I kind of wanted to just, preface this by saying that I am a huge Tool fan. I love Tool, one of my favorite bands of all time, and one of the first bands that actually got me into listening to metal. So this is not me hammering on Tool at all, so you can rest easy on that. But I wanted to explain the two different experiences that I had with the two different Tool shows and why they were so different, and maybe prepare you for when you go see Tool. Also explain the reasons why you may have been disappointed by their show and what you experienced during their show. So basically, before I start in on the 6 reasons, I want to say that there are 3 things that go into having a good concert experience. And one is going to be who you're with, so that's super important. Who you're with really has a huge impact on any show that you go see. If you're with like really cool people, really good friends, if you're with someone who's kind of a downer, obviously they're going to affect your mood and they're going to affect your experience. Number 2 is what state of mind you're in. So that being what you're drinking, what you've taken, or whatever it might be. You have to have, a good positive state of mind in order to have a good experience. That's the same with anything that you go and do, not just concerts. And then third is going to be whether or not you are actually a real fan of the band. And that means, if you only say maybe you really like a band, but you've only listened to like one of their albums, and then you go and see their show and they only played a couple songs, 1 or 2 songs after that one album that you like, maybe you're not a big enough fan of that band to really have enjoyed that concert enough. So those 3 things are going to be the same no matter what show you go and do, so just keep those in mind as I go through these 6 reasons, and I'll kind of reference back to them as well. So here are 6 reasons why you may have been disappointed by the Tool show. Reason number 1, you did not do your research. So maybe you are a huge fan of Tool, you listen to them all the time, but you don't know anything about the band, as how they operate, or, their kind of weird idiosyncrasies about them. So that was kind of me when I saw them in 2014. I loved their music, but I didn't know anything about the band. I didn't know that they never really do hardly any interviews. I didn't know that they never do signings. I didn't know that they were going to come on stage, do their set, and walk off. Nothing said to the audience, no encore, no opener, no nothing. So I was not prepared for that. And I still enjoyed the concert back in 2014 when I first saw them, but I was totally not prepared for what I was about to experience. And I was also not with the right people and all that. But so if you do not know, Tool, typically they come on stage, they do their show, and they leave. They don't do encores. And they don't have like a big screen. When you go and see most shows, if they're in a big arena, they will typically have like a big screen where they have a zoomed in visual of, what the performers are doing on the stage. So if you bought tickets way in the back, like I did this most recent time, you're not going to be able to see exactly what they're doing up close. They don't have a big, huge, like mega screen. You're not going to be able to see their faces. You just have to rely on, what you can see from far away. Last time I saw them in 2014, I was also not prepared for the fact that Maynard was going to be all the way in the back, completely enshrouded in darkness, and all you could see of him was just like a dark silhouette. I was not prepared for that, and it's totally unusual because most of the time the front man of the band is usually like... I want to put that in there. So I was not prepared for Maynard to be all the way in the back, completely in darkness, and you can't see anything other than like his silhouette. I think at the time he had like a fake mohawk on, but I totally could not see his face, even though I was sitting up front, like on the floor, back when I saw them the first time. I was totally not prepared for that, and the reason why Maynard stays in the back is because he feels he can give a better performance from the back of the stage, where he's able to hear things better, and also I've heard too that he may have some kind of performance anxiety a little bit, and that helps with that. But another reason is that because he doesn't want anyone to focus on one member of the band too much. It's about all of them, and he doesn't want to take up too much of the spotlight. Anyway, so also do your research and know that Maynard is not going to be up front and, just doing his weird, tribal dancing and all painted or cross-dressed or something like he used to do. He did used to do that back in the day where he would give amazing performances dancing and dressed up in crazy outfits and stuff. But he doesn't do that anymore, so don't be expecting that. And if you are expecting that, I'm sorry, but you will be disappointed because he's going to be in the back. However, this most recent time that I saw him, you were able to see more of him. He was lit up more. You could see what he's wearing. You could see him moving around the stage and dancing. He didn't stay in just one spot in the back of the band like he did when I saw them in 2014. He moved around the stage. He did do his dancing. He did do some weird goofy stuff, and you could see him giving way more of a performance than he typically does, I feel. And so I was very surprised and very excited about that. But know that in advance that he's not going to be all crazy and weird like he did back in the days of the first couple albums. And also don't expect Maynard to be all laughy goofy funny Maynard all the time. They typically tend to fill out the crowd, and he may or may not speak to the audience at all. This most recent time I was totally stoked because he was laughing, he was joking with the audience, and we got to hear him talk and kind of rile up the crowd a little bit, which I thought was really unique and incredible because I know that doesn't happen all the time. So yes, that goes back to also whether or not you are a real fan of the band you're about to go see. You kind of have to do your research on the band in order to know what to expect at their show. So that brings us to reason number 2, and that is you couldn't have your phone out during the performance. So this is the same with every single Tool show ever, unless, of course, if you see them at a festival, it's not very enforceable. But they always have a no cell phone policy during their show. You're not allowed to have it out. If you have it out during the show, you will be kicked out. And they've kind of relaxed on this a little bit in the past few years because when I went and saw them in 2014, you were not even allowed to bring your phone into the venue at all. You had to leave it in your car, you had to leave it at home. It was not allowed inside the venue whatsoever. But now that, cell phones are so important, we wouldn't have been able to get home without Uber, so you're allowed to bring your phone into the arena, you're allowed to use it, you're just not allowed to use it in the arena during the performance. So you have to put it away, or if you need to use it, you have to go out on the concourse. And I totally agree with this policy. I know if maybe you're like a huge social media person, or you just like to document things and you like to relive things afterwards based on the pictures and videos that you took, I totally understand that. But if you are, say, to be having you're maybe in a positive state of mind based on what you were drinking, eating, taking, yada yada, not going to go into that. But if you're, say, pretending you are in an arena filled with aliens and you're totally visualizing everything that they're saying and you're being taken to a whole nother dimension through the music and through the energy of all the people around you, and then a bright screen lights up right next to you, your focus and your attention and your visualization is going to go straight to that bright lit device. Your eyes just go right to it, and the spell is totally broken. If you're visualizing something cool, something amazing, something weird happening around you, and that you were just really immersed in it, it totally ruins it when someone's bright ass phone is shining right next to you, or a few rows down, like your eye will instantly go to it. So this happened a couple times during the show I saw most recently. Someone had their phone out, maybe just to find their seat or something, but it definitely takes away from the experience. It takes away from whatever you're feeling at the time or whatever you're experiencing, and now your attention is totally gone, your visualization is totally gone, and now you're just focused on that phone and that person and whatever they're doing. I will say, though, that they have, like I said, they've relaxed on this cell phone policy. At the very end, Maynard let us all take out our phones and film the very last song that they played, just so that then, you have something to post on social media, something to prove that you're actually there, whatever you use your phone for when you're at concerts. So, there is that. You did get, one song to be able to film to take out, but, yeah, don't expect to have your phone out the entire time, because you will get kicked out. I've seen people get kicked out for having their phones out at Tool concerts, so don't try it. That brings us to reason number 3. You didn't like the opener. Okay, so this is arguable about whether or not the opener should affect your concert experience at all. The whole point of an opener is to get the crowd riled up and to get them excited about the headliner that's to come. It's really to just prep the crowd for the headliner. And so if you have a really bad opener, then that's, they're going to be kind of pissed off, or they're not going to be in the right state of mind, the right mood for the opener. Then again, they're just the opener, you didn't come to see them, so then therefore they shouldn't really have much effect on your experience of the band that you're going to see. But that being said, maybe you spent a lot of money on your tickets and you spent 45 minutes watching a band play that you absolutely hated. So, I mean, there is that aspect to it. This most recent time, we had Author and Punisher. He's, I guess, a metal DJ is what I could explain him as is a metal DJ. Totally knew nothing about this opener, did not know who he was, totally thought he was a band instead of just a dude. And yeah, going back, I did not do my research on the opener, so I didn't know what to expect. But I have to say it was kind of 50-50 with the crowd. About half the crowd absolutely hated this guy. The other half seemed to be kind of into him, at least for the most part. And so it really depends. I don't know if he was exactly right for this kind of thing because, you know, it's a metal DJ, a lot of screaming, loud bass, like, you know, all that kind of crazy. It was like a metal rave, basically, which I think this guy would probably be more fit for like a metal rave, which I don't know if they even have, but it sounds awesome and I would totally go. But the demographic of Tool, you have to understand, is usually at least 50% like dudes over the age of 40. And so I don't think that this guy was necessarily right for this, but then again, Tool is a weird, odd band, and they typically look for unique type of things to open their show. This guy was definitely unique. I've never seen anything like him. And I do think he is very talented. Maybe not exactly right for the show, but I personally really enjoyed him. I wouldn't mind seeing him again, maybe in a slightly different setting, but I did think he did really well. I heard, I don't know if this is true, I heard that when he does his normal performances, he kind of straps into this like robotic arm type of thing, and he kind of like does this little like a whole performance type thing, like strapped in, working all the different like, I don't know, DJ stuff. He also does the vocals, the scream vocals for it as well, live, so that's cool. It would have been nice to see up close, maybe to see more of like what he was doing would have made it better, but then again, yeah, I don't know, everyone else I was with kind of hated this guy. I thought he was good, but I mean, to each their own. Again, I mean, if you really focus a lot on the opener, and an opener has a lot to do with your concert experience, then, you know, you may have been disappointed by the opener, or maybe there was no opener. You know, so I don't think that should really have a huge impact on your experience, but sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Okay, moving on to reason number 4, there is no encore. So this goes back again to not doing your research. Tool never encores, not ever. That's just kind of the way they are. They're weird. It's a whole, I'm not going to go into it, but they never encore. So what they do instead of an encore is they have an intermission. And they've done this, they did this when I saw them in 2014, and when I saw them most recently, they have about like a 12-minute intermission or something like that. Get up, go to the bathroom, come back, and they usually play 2 or 3 more songs. And so if you think of that as their encore, then technically they did encore, but they just call it like an intermission. And so, yeah, if you were just sitting there expecting them to come back on, just like holding your breath, then maybe you're disappointed. But I think that's kind of everyone's reaction. Even when a band does encore, they kind of wish that there was more. So, I mean, know that they're not going to encore, and expect that after the intermission, they're going to play a couple more songs, and then they're going to be done. And also don't expect them to say goodnight or thank you or anything. Play their set and they go. You know, they don't say goodbye, they don't take too many bows. Danny Carey may throw his drumsticks, but usually they don't really do a whole lot. Maynard just beelines it off the stage. This past time, Danny Carey and I think Adam and Justin did take like little bows and kind of threw their picks and all that. But typically they don't like get on a line and take like huge bows, and they don't do anything showy like that. They just play their last song and they get the hell off the stage. This takes us to reason number 6, and that is the performance in general. So I know that you may have been disappointed, possibly because Maynard doesn't really do his screams anymore. So if you were hoping they would play more of like opiate and undertow songs, you may have been disappointed because during the show that I saw personally, they only played one song off of Undertow and nothing off of Opiate. So if you really only like the more like angsty, angry type of Tool songs, then you may have been disappointed. Also, I know Maynard's in his 50s, and he can't quite do, this is so sad to say, but I know it's at least partially true, he can't quite do those screams the same as he used to. And so there were times, he played some of the songs and maybe there was like one long extended scream that maybe wasn't quite on par with, what he used to do back in the day or what it is on the track. But again, it's still amazing performance out of Maynard, still amazing performance out of all of the guys, especially Danny Carey. I'm sorry I keep saying that, but I really am just a huge fan of Danny. And I think that this newest album of his, Fear Inoculum, is just his complete masterpiece and just really showcases how much he's grown as a drummer and like just really what he can do. Anyway, sorry. Getting back to the point, the performance was incredible, I thought, but I can also see the argument as to Maynard relying a little bit too much on the megaphone. They played Vicarious, and he sang the entirety of Vicarious on the megaphone, which I was a little bit surprised. I mean, I do like the megaphone. I think it does give it like a really cool effect to a lot of their songs, but to use it for an entire song was not disappointing, just like a little bit surprising to me, I guess. But yeah, they play Vicarious. I think it's played completely, Maynard sings it completely on the megaphone, but, you know, you give and you take, so he sings it completely on the megaphone, but then he does do a little bit more of a showy performance. He kind of goes around the stage and does like kind of like goofy dancey type things, kind of like old-fashioned Maynard used to. And so I think, you know, it depends. Like, would you rather have him sing completely without the megaphone, or would you rather have him be more of a showman? If you were hoping to hear like Ticks and Leeches, which they hardly ever play live, or more of their like angry, screamy songs, you may have been disappointed by that. And yeah, I'm sorry if you were disappointed, but I think at least my opinion, the whole performance in general was just incredible. Moving on to our last and final reason, number 6, is you relied too much on what you were seeing during the performance and not what you were feeling / experiencing. So that goes back to kind of, you know, like what state of mind you were in and all that. So the whole point of any concert that you go to is not to see the band perform live. Like, if all you wanted to do was watch, you know, what Danny Carey does to like play on the drums, like you could see that on YouTube. Like, the whole reason any of us go to a metal show is to experience the music, not to just see them play. Like, that is a part of it. Like, the performance is a part of it. But the other part of it is to be amongst other people who also really enjoy the band, to feed off of their energies, and to really experience the music. I'm sorry if that sounds so pretentious. I can't believe I'm saying this. And I've tried so hard not to be like that Tool fan, but okay, I guess I am that Tool fan. But the whole point of Tool is not to just watch the performance. You can't focus too much on one band member. You have to just take it all in at once. And that's kind of the whole like unity and like being one type of thing that they kind of try to tell you in their lyrics and all of that. I had to kind of stop myself from like focusing too much on one band member, because that does take away from, you know, experiencing all of, you know, everything that's going on, like really feeling the music in your core and just being kind of transported to another dimension, so to speak, through their music. So if you were just like zeroed in on Maynard the entire time, just trying to like figure out what is he doing, where is he going, like I want to see him, you know, you may be disappointed, because that's not the point. Again, that's one of the reasons why Maynard hides in the back during his shows, not just because he feels he gives a better performance being closer to the back of the stage. It's also because he doesn't want you to focus on one band member too much. It's about all of them together, and it's not about exactly like what one person is doing at that moment in time. It's about what they're all doing, and the whole point is to immerse yourself in the music. And in order to immerse yourself, you kind of have to like just let go, so to speak, and just experience it as a whole. Try and take in everyone else's energy who's super stoked to also see Tool, and then just kind of let the music transport you in whatever way that you need at the time. So I know that sounds ridiculous, but I totally did not understand this the first time I went and saw Tool. I was like confused and like a little bit disappointed by the lack of like excitement from the crowd. You usually go to a metal crowd and people are moshing and crazy and, you know, just dancing and drunk. So that's what I was expecting. So I say this not to sound pretentious, even though it sounds pretentious and it sounds preachy and ridiculous. But I say this because, I mean, I was that person who went and saw Tool for the first time, and I didn't understand what happened, what was going on. It was not like any other concert I'd ever been to. There was no moshing, there was no like jumping up and down and like shoving against each other. It's meant to be more surreal and more immersive, so to speak. You feel like you can reach out and just feel everyone around you and really experience like where you are at that moment in time. Is not in like in a venue with a bunch of other people listening to a concert. You're in a spaceship, or you're in a swamp, or you're somewhere else, okay, and you're just really being immersed in the experience. it's not really meant to be like your typical metal show. And so that's something that I feel like not everyone understands. I mean, I did see the people who were sitting right in front of us left halfway through the show, and I was just, trying to figure out, like, how could you possibly leave halfway through Tool? But I think maybe they just didn't understand what was going on around them, and they didn't try and get into the right frame of mind for what was about to happen, and they didn't try to, forget about everything else around them and just feel the music. They were focusing maybe too much on one thing, and they were just trying to, zero it in on one person on what's going on. So, yeah, sorry to sound preachy and like a pretentious Tool fan, but yeah, if you have any questions, yeah, let me know in the comments. Let me know if I sound like a douche, and yeah, if you want me to talk more about Tool, I would love to talk more about Tool. Let me know if you're interested in going in depth on some of their songs and my opinions on what they mean and blah, 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 blah. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I promise Crack the Sky, A Story Explained, is coming. And thanks for watching. Subscribe if you want to get notified when I do that video.